Hi, this is Barry Whitwam from Hermans Hermits. You're listening to Six Towns Radio.
We love music. You are locked into Six Towns Radio.
Okay, I'd like to welcome today to Bossons About the one and only Barry Whitwam, drummer in Hermans Hermits. How are you doing today, Barry?
Very fine, Terry. It's great. Nice and hot.
Yeah, we're loving it up here in Stoke. We've got you on the phone today to talk about a few things, but of course you are always on tour, but you're coming to Stoke in November. Have you got any memories of Stoke-on-Trent?
Yeah, we used to tour it in the 64 quite a lot. I forget the place we used to do, but we're always there. It's great town.
Yeah, they do love coming out to these gigs. And you do these 60s tours. I know you tour with Hermans Hermits across the world, but you do these 60s tours quite a lot, and you get to knock around with artists that you've known for years. Is it loads of fun?
It's been fantastic. We're on the Sensational Sixties tour, and for the last 4 years we've been with the Tremolos, Hermans Hermits, Union Gap, Ivy League, and Alan Moscow's The Compay. It's been great. Now this year we've got Marmalade, Stevie Ellis from Love Affair, and Chris Farlow, Hermans Hermits, and Alan again. And we'll be 22nd of November, Friday night. We'll be at Victoria Hall, Stoke. And it's great being on the road. As you say, we've always on the road, but it's great to be on a package tour.
Yeah, indeed it is, because I do like these 60s nights when they put together well. You know, I know they do some at the holiday camps like Butlins, and, you know, thousands of people turn up, and it's a good chance for people of all ages to go see you.
It is, and what's good about this show, we're doing a finale at the end of it, probably about eight songs or something like that in a medley. Then after that we have a meet and greet, where we can sign the programmes that they bought, have a chat. And, you know, Elvis has not left the building, we're in the foyer.
You mentioned Elvis because I've seen the famous picture of you with Elvis. You got a chance to meet him, didn't you, in the 60s?
That's right. In 1965, we just finished a tour of America, which ended in Hawaii. And he was filming Paradise Hawaiian Style in Hawaii. And the night before we were going home, we got a telephone call from Colonel Tom Parker. And that was Elvis Presley's manager. And he said, Elvis Presley would like to meet Hermans Hermits tomorrow on his film set at 2 o'clock. And we booked tickets to go home to Manchester that day. So we can't go, we're going home. But we cancelled our tickets and we had a fabulous 2 hours with Elvis on his film set. I think what Colonel Tom Parker wanted to know is why 5 lads from Manchester were selling more records than Elvis Presley. It was nice. It was nice talking to him. He was a gentleman. And as you say, I've got the pictures on the website and in my lounge at home with me and Elvis. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and some of the band went home to Manchester and didn't take up that chance.
That's right, yeah. It was Carl Green, Derek Leckenby and Keith Hopwood. They went home, and I think they regretted it ever since. when they got to Manchester, they got done by customs because it smuggled 3 watches in, which were present from our accountant. So not only didn't meet Elvis, they got fined £250 for smuggling, and the watches and all the duty-free taken off them.
What a trip. You're a Cheshire lad, you still live in the Northwest. What is it about musicians in the Northwest, especially in the 60s?
Yeah, it was great. Manchester area, we had the Hollies, Wayne Fontana, Mindbenders, Freddie and the Dreamers, Hermans Hermits, and then the second generation, it was the Oasis and all those guys. It's I don't know what. It's just, it's like the Merseyside, the Mersey Beats. You've got the Mersey Beats, the Beatles, Swinging Blue Jeans. Every area had their own hit groups, as it were. I don't know why, but they did.
Everywhere except for Stoke. I don't think they had a 60s band, really, that made that much noise in the charts. You were in a band called the Wailers, weren't you, originally?
That's right. Nothing to do with Bob Marley. Originally it was the Demons. Then we got a singer, it was Danny and the Demons. Then we changed the name to the Hellions, same band. Then we changed it to the Wailers. It was just so when you kept going down the same circuit, you changed the name so you could get rebooked. Nothing to do with how bad we played.
And then, of course, you were a drummer in Hermans Hermits, one of the most successful UK and US bands of the 60s. You eclipsed the Beatles in record sales at some point, didn't you?
That's right. Between 1965 and 66, we sold more records than anybody else in the world that particular year. we were very lucky, and it's probably a lot down to our youth. We were attracted to the younger girls, the fans that didn't like the Stones maybe because they were a bit rough around the edges, and the Beatles. We got the younger set, and a few years later the Monkees did it to us. Our fans were okay, but then the younger fans went and watched the Monkees.
Yeah.
But it was great, and as I was saying, Mickey Most. It was all down to Mickey Most because he had the talent of picking the great songs that the writers were writing those days and putting it with the right group.
Yeah.
So a lot of the success is down to Mickey Most.
Yeah, Mickey Most. Well, he started working with people like Jimmy Page as well, didn't he?
That's right. Well, Jimmy Page was a session man, as Long John. What's his name? Paul Jones.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. He was the arranger for Mickey, and then he went on to be Led Zeppelin. But Mickey used those guys as session men and other session men, and a lot of our records were violins and trumpets and things like that. We couldn't play them. So but all the number ones, funny enough, were just the five of us playing.
Yeah. And just amazing hit after hit after hit. And that carried on until the band sort of split up in the early 70s. I know you carried on since. Do you think Peter Noone went his own way? There's a few stories why, but he went his own way to do solo stuff, didn't he, originally?
That's right. In 1970, he said he was going to be a solo singer, and he was going to leave the band in November the 5th, 1971. So we had a year's notice, and so I said, fine. So when he left, we went into the studio, and we'd written a great album, which then we did for about 3 months, we did the university circuits. But I preferred playing the Hermans Hermits records and do it. So we went back to do what we did best, and that was playing Hermans Hermits. And done it ever since, non-stop.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because I suppose he's gone on and done his own thing with his band, and you've done your thing. They say never the twain shall meet again. Do you think that would happen?
I don't think so. I think Peter's happy with doing his own thing.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be involved in like a band anymore after 1971. But having said that, he still needs a band behind him when he does his live shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe he didn't like us.
But you've been really successful with it. You never stopped. Is it still exciting now, going on the stage as it's always been?
Just the same, yeah, if not more so, because we know what we're doing now. In the early, in the 60s, we used to run on stage, no sound checks, hope for the best. But now we get to theatre, do a sound check, make sure everything's right. And I still get I wouldn't say the jitters, it's the adrenaline starts to pump round, 2 minutes before the show time.
Yeah.
And it takes about an hour and a half for the adrenaline to finish the show.
You said you didn't sound check in the 60s, and you did quite a lot of TV shows, a lot more than bands do now, live, didn't you? That's
right, yeah, I had to. We had no videos back in the 60s, so you had to do every TV show there was, like Sooty, Basil Bush, Crackerjack, and you name it, we did them, and that's to promote the single records that were coming out.
Yeah, and going back to the tours, you go to all these cities in the UK and across the world. Is it nice to go back, because you visit these places, and I bet sometimes it's just a blur and you can't remember, but sometimes you go back and think, I remember playing here before.
Yeah, it's amazing, because as you said, they get a bit jumbled up over the years, and you go back and say, I know this, I remember the dressing room, the sinks on the left-hand side, and things like that, daft things. Yeah, but it all comes back, never forget anything.
Yeah, and you were friends with quite a lot of other drummers, Keith Moone being one who you've got a famous story about.
Yeah, we had his 21st birthday, 1967, was this July the 22nd, I think, and mine was the 21st. And we had a massive party in Flint, Michigan, in the Holiday Inn. And usually what happened, our fans would bake cakes anyway and send them to the hotel or to the gigs, and we'd take them back to the hotel. And because it was the two birthdays, we had about 200 cakes delivered to the Holiday Inn in Flint, Michigan. The thing was, the management said, you don't eat the cakes, you just look at them and take your pictures of them, because you don't know what they're made of. Because once we found a couple of razor blades in one of the cakes, so that was it. We were banned from eating them.
Yeah.
So we were just looking at these cakes, and Keith Moone stuck his finger in and a bit of cream and flicked it at our bass player, Carl Green, and Carl Green got a bigger fingerful and flicked it at Keith Moone. And before, you know, we had one of the best food fights in the world. And it's we had to pay for the damage for that one. As the Holiday Inn lounge was had to be recarpeted, decorated, and all of other things had to be repaired at that night.
A lot different than throwing a TV out the window.
Yeah, no, we don't do that. You know, I like to watch the TV. I'd rather watch it in the bedroom than in the car park.
Well, that's it. Once you've thrown it outside, that's it. You've got to sit up all night, I suppose, with nothing to do.
Yeah, I don't think Keith Moone ever threw a TV set out the window on tour with us. The reason we were on tour was our policy back then. Every time we toured America in the 60s, we'd take an English band with us, so to support us, and we took the Animals, and we took Wayne Fontaine, the Mindbenders, and the Hollies, and we took the Who to be our warm-up. And the last night, actually, on that particular tour, it ended in Hawaii again, and they had a lot of gunpowder left over. So at the end of the show, I didn't know it, while we were playing Henry VIII, the road manager had come along onto my I was on a great big rostrum, put a pile of gunpowder under my seat, and I was playing away, and the last number was Henry VIII, and it ends on the last beat. They set up this explosion. I was the first exploding drummer in the world. When the smoke cleared, my shirt was all scorched, the back of my hair was scorched.
Wow.
It's funny, though.
It's funny now, yeah. Drummers always have the best stories. The last guest I had, actually, was a drummer. We spoke to Pete Best. Of course, he's got an amazing story. He was on the cusp of being in one of the biggest bands ever. And, of course, we all know what happened. He got sacked, and he still carried on drumming, and he's had a great career himself. But can you imagine if that had happened to you at the time with Hermans Hermits?
Well, it was actually the reverse, because when it used to be in 1963, Herman and the Hermits, they'd been down to Mickey Mouse to try and make a record, and it didn't work. And the band broke up for a couple of weeks, and Peter Noone's manager, Harvey Lisberg, had seen my band, which was myself, Derek Leckenby and Ian Waller, and he wanted us to be the new Hermits. And he said, "Do you want to be, Herman and the Hermits?" I said, "Not really. We've seen it. We didn't like him." He said, "Before you say no, just have a look at the diary. And we're working 7 nights a week." So I said to I've already turned professional. I want some of this. So we said to the management, "If you change the name from Herman and the Hermits to Hermans Hermits, we'll join." So it was, then they did that. April the 1st, we joined, and then we went back. The group went back to Mickey Mouse, and they made a record out of something good.
Yeah.
But the reverse, I tell you, another Daft Drummer story is true, though. The drummer with the Kinks, in the early days when the Rolling Stones were looking for a drummer, before they called the Rolling Stones, he stood in for them and played 3 gigs, and they offered him the job to be the drummer in the Rolling Stones. He said, "No, I'm a decorator. I've got 3 houses to decorate."
Oh.
So he turned down the Rolling Stones.
That wouldn't happen today, because work isn't that readily available other than what you've got in front of you. Let's go back to this tour then, the Sensational Sixties experience. We've said there's Marmalade, Chris Farlow, The Love Affair. You've told us a few tidbits of what happens on the night, but it is something for all ages, isn't it? It is. There's so many hits there. I think there's probably about 40 hits records that people will hear that night, and everyone knows them. They'll be singing along and clapping along. So when you finish seeing one of the Sensational Sixties experience tours, you sort of, it's like a workout. People go out sweating and I've lost my voice. Yeah, it's a great experience, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, well, tickets are available right now, so we will give all the details of that. I just want to thank you for coming on the telephone today, Barry, and relaying all these amazing stories. No, I'm halfway through writing a book, actually, so maybe next year I'll have this book finished. It's all daft stories like I've been saying today. It's my pleasure to be on the show. Yeah, well, we'll get you on to promote the book then next year. Well, thank you very much. Cheers.